Line element, which where it's the where in the minarets which is predominant. Now there are certain line elements in the modern constructions as well. Like for example, you have this bridge structure. If you have a look at this bridge structure, now this is again a line element actually. When you look at it architecturally, this line element is it expresses space as it's written here for movement across this space. So architecturally, what do you get from here is that it is actually a three-dimensional structure, but architecturally, the predominant feature in this structure is the line element. You could classify even these structures, which I'm showing you next. A structure like this could also be classified as a predominant line element, because what I showed you three things. One, it's a simple line, a single line moving up and down. That it could be like that, or it, which I showed you just now. I showed you one, it could be a single line moving from top to bottom, or a line could become a part of the surface, or the line could make the surface itself, like this. So lines are actually making the surface, and lines are predominant in this architectural system. Why are they predominant here? Because all that is visible is the columns moving up and down and certain beams. So you could make line elements predominant in a structure. So ultimately it comes down to what you are making as the predominant point in an architectural system. Are you making a point as a predominant system? Are you making line? And next we will study the planes as well. Are you making the plane as a predominant system in an architectural, predominant element in an architectural system? Like for example, you have now, if you want to move from line to plane elements, you could classify it something like this. Now these are line elements, and when you are extending them, you are making a plane. So this is the plane that you are getting. And now if you want to change their uh, behavior of the lines, you could get different forms of planes. Let me show you the. So you have two parallel lines. They could describe the plane. These are parallel lines. They are describing the plane. Now it's saying the closer these lines are to each other, the stronger will be the sense of plane they convey. Now, if they are far away from each other, they will not be able to convey the sense of being in a plane. That is it being a surface. Although they are not connected with each other, these are individual line elements. They are not connected with each other, but they can form a plane. Next, you have a series of parallel lines. Now they are repetitive, so they are giving the perception of a plane. As these lines extend themselves along the plane they describe, the implied plane becomes real, and the original voids between the lines revert to being mere interruptions of the planar surface. So even if they extend away from each other, but they are being connected, so they then give an idea of a plane. The voids may become larger, but still they may give an idea of a plane. And in the third example, diagram illustrates the transformation of a row of round columns, initially supporting a portion of a wall, then evolving into square piers, which are an integral part of the wall plane, and finally becomes pilasters, remnants of the original columns occurring as a relief along the surface of the wall. So now, in this case, if there was no, ये ऐसे कहा जा रहा है जैसे there was a wall and the wall is being actually uh, removed, and it is then becoming a pilaster and the portion of the wall, so it gives a feeling of having being a wall, so the above portion would still be the wall and these would remain as the pilasters. So this is one linear element that is converting into plane. You could have even more like this, somewhat like this. You have a row of columns, they are supporting the topmost slab here at the top, which is actually supported on girders. So you have the front face of this building. It is looking like a planar element, although it's being connected only with linear elements, but it's still looking like it has got a surface. So this is how the linear element could be transformed into a planar surface. Similarly, you have this one. This is the Store of Atlas in Athens. The linear elements all connected together. So now, what do you get till now from what we studied from yesterday was you have an architectural principle which is supported on three basic ideas. What were the ideas? Any one of you who can recall? What are the three ideas on which an architectural principle is supported on? What are the inputs to an architectural principle? Yes, rule number 9.
Sir, we studied first architecture where we have space and structure and enclosure, which we can take a look at it, we can see it. And then we have the things that we experience, that we perceive. For example, you talked about, sir, how we enter the that for example a building, and how the things what view do we get from the building, view of the outside.
Movement through time and space. So
Yes, sir.
the perception when you are moving through time and space into that structure, architectural system. Now, then you are getting the perception and you have a context within that perception कि किस context में आप उसको perceive कर रहे हो. So This is the basic idea of an architectural principle. What comes next are the primary elements which we discuss. So basically, the primary elements are point, line element, planar element, and then you could have volume. So we'll next discuss about the planar element and then about the volume. I'll first show you the how what are the different forms of planar elements that we have. So if you have a look here, the line becomes a planar element, and the planar element now has its dimensions. It would have its length and it would have its width. Now, the shape of the planar element could vary, which I just showed you. It could be a triangle, it could be a circle, and it could be a rectangle. Next, what comes is that what is the orientation, which I was just discussing. What is the orientation of that planar element? Is it facing or is it at an angle? This is at an angle, this is facing, and this is at an angle. So what do you keep towards the face? Do you keep the total face of this towards the actual facade? Facade हम कहते हैं उसको जो आगे से दिखता है on the of the architectural system. क्या उसकी तरफ आप इसको पूरा फेस को रख रहे हो, और are you keeping towards the face just an angle? So thereby, when you are visually constructing uh, something in an architectural space, it would look like this. I will be showing you the figure. So in visual construction, the plane serves to define the limits or boundaries of a volume. If architecture as a visual art deals specifically with the formation of three-dimensional volumes of mass and space, then the plane should be regarded as a key element in the vocabulary of architectural design. Now, this is the main take, that plane then becomes this makes up the space of an architectural system. So space would only come when you have a plane or a surface. So all planes together, they form up the architectural space in steps. So you have to actually combine the different orders. Now, we all know what are the different planes in a normal building. One is the base or the floor. This is the floor. Then you have the walls, and you have the ceiling, the overhead plane. So there are three planes. There are three planes. One is the base plane, then you have the wall planes, and you have the overhead plane. So the base plane can either be the ground plane that serves as the physical foundation and visual base for building forms, or floor plane that forms the lower enclosing surface of a room upon which we walk. This is self-explanatory. And then apart from these, you have two more planes, which is the overhead plane, and you have the wall plane. The overhead plane can either be the roof plane that spans and shelters the interior spaces of a building from the climatic elements, or the ceiling plane that forms the upper enclosing surface of a room. And the wall plane, because of its vertical orientation, is active in our normal field of vision and vital to the shaping and enclosure of the architectural space. So actually, it's the walls which act as the enclosing space that serves as an enclosing space. If there are no walls and you have the overhead plane and the base plane, then it's you might not be able to visualize the enclosing space. So walls are very important in for space to become enclosures. although you have space even without walls, but an enclosure would be only defined once there are walls. Let me show you one figure that would explain what I was just saying about the enclosure and the space. This is a this is a picture of a sitting area in one of the buildings in California. So if you are able to see, there is a sitting area here, or a bedroom type area here. The sitting area is here. There you have the dining area here, and you have still more sitting areas on the sides. Now, are there any walls? There are no walls. So wall planes are missing here. But what is giving, इसमें क्या दे रहा है जो what is giving it the look of having different areas? It's what is separating the different areas? Only that there are different layers being added towards the top. So there are no wall enclosures. There are no walls and there are no enclosures here. So only the walls are on the outer side. So this form of architectural design, wherein only the planes are offering. So there are small, little planes here, like you have these ones here. These are small planes which are the steps. They are enclosing this small area for dining. Again, another and this plane, small planes, they are serving as this as the sitting area and this as the bedroom area in this build structure. Although it's all just one space. So you could have an architectural system in such a formation as well, even without the walls. But basically, there are three elements to every architectural space. That is wall, you have a floor and or the base plane, and you have the overhead or the ceiling plane. One more example I'm showing you. This is an emperor's seat in Japan. Now, if you have a look at this, you have a sitting area and a dining area in between, and the spaces around it. This is an outer porch area, and you could have uh, even a area around this for acting as its sleeping or a bedroom area. So such types of constructions were predominant in earlier times. Even in modern houses, the contemporary houses or the architecture, you still have same sort of constructions being done, but the areas are being separated just by giving an interior visual perspectives. Otherwise, there are no enclosures being given by the walls. Now, what sort of planar elements do we have apart from having the three basic, that is overhead, wall, and base floor? There are even more types to it. For example, I'll be showing you with the figures. This is hanger.